While we're still on the Halloween craze, why don't I give you an Over the Garden Wall theory? The pilot of Over the Garden Wall fits in the continuity of the miniseries, taking place in between two of the episodes. Now let me make something clear. None of this is officially canon. It's just a theory. Also, there will be spoilers to the main series. If you haven't watched Over the Garden Wall, do it now. It's only 10 episodes and a pilot, so there isn't too much to watch. Either way, major spoilers ahead, you have been warned. Now, the pilot of the series is about when the main cast are looking for the Tome of the Unknown, unlike in the miniseries when they're looking for Adelaide. Well, the Tome of the Unknown you actually see in the very end of Over the Garden Wall, held by Lorna. It's possible that the Tome of the Unknown was written by Adelaide and her sisters, perhaps as a journal with all their magic and their spells. The narrator for the pilot, however, may have stated otherwise.
A strange book containing all that hath ever been forgotten.
Nevertheless, the Tome of the Unknown was a pretty important object for Beatrice to seek. For if it truly did contain all that had been forgotten, then that information could still be useful for getting Wirt and Greg back home and restoring Beatrice and her family. What if Beatrice learned this from either Adelaide or someone who knew about Adelaide and her sisters? This would lead her to have a backup plan on how to restore her and her family back to their human state. But something would have to have happened for her to decide to implement this backup plan. Maybe Wirt and Greg actually did save her life at one point, unlike when she faked her distress in the brambles. Now you might have noticed earlier the plural when I mentioned Adelaide's sisters. As we see in the tapestry, Adelaide has two sisters. And here's a quick mini-theory on who that other sister is. In the 2016 comic of Over the Garden Wall, which is a sequel to the miniseries, Greg would meet this lady who lived in a giant squash and was trying to make a special magic brew. What if this purple-haired lady was the other sister of Adelaide? Now back to the main theory. What if whoever told Beatrice about the Tome of the Unknown said it was with Adelaide's sister, but not which one? In fact, Beatrice may have not even been told that Adelaide had two sisters, and thus, when they began their search for the tome, they may have been looking for the wrong sister. If Beatrice was owing them a real-life debt, then it may have been paid off later when they were seeking the tome. This, and not knowing who really had the tome, could have led to them giving up and resuming their quest to find Adelaide. But you might be asking, when could all of this have happened? Well, here's where the pilot fits in the continuity of the series. It's likely to have taken place before Chapter 4, Songs of the Dark Lantern, because that episode is when they meet Fred the horse, and that plays into the events of the next chapters, which are pretty close together, unlike Chapters 3 and 4, which could have taken place way apart. So in between those chapters, they travel with John Crops to a town full of people made of veggies and fruits. Now, the veggie and fruit people you see in the pilot have also been seen in issue 18 of the 2016 comic, further proving my theory that the pilot is canon to the main series. Now, the only thing that might debunk this theory is the moon you see in the pilot. Now, throughout the miniseries, you see a quarter moon on its side, and it's that way throughout all of the episodes. But in the pilot, it is a blood moon, which is a red full moon. But I believe the pilot is still canon, because here's something else from the 2016 comic you should see. Throughout most of the issues, the moon is that same quarter as we have seen in the miniseries, except for the very last issue of the main story, when it is a crescent moon, while in the previous issue, it was the same quarter moon as before. The moon in the unknown changes its phases differently from how it does in the real world, and thus there is no evidence to debunk this theory. Well, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed your Halloween, Day of the Dead, or whatever you celebrate in the fall. This is Kai Smash Universe, signing out.